Dark Shadows, number 32, BTR 72666, air 8966, take one.
My name is Victoria Winters. Here in Collinwood there is a moment of quiet. Even the wind has subsided, and the threat of a storm is a thing of the past. But there are other storms. The unending chill of fear that sweeps through the silent corridors, always reminding a man of how close he has come to death.
Hello, Liz.
Roger, how long have you been home?
Long enough.
Wait, I've just come from Matthew's cottage. He's gone into town to see if he can help find David.
You can tell him not to bother, Liz.
Why? What happened?
You've missed quite a few things.
Did you hear something about David?
Yes. He tried to kill me. My own charming son.
That's not true. Where is he now?
Where all criminals belong. Under lock and key.
What do you mean, locked in his room?
That's what I said, Liz. David's upstairs, locked in his room. There'll be no more running away for that young man.
When did he get home?
Oh, about 3/4 of an hour ago. Liz, you phoned me when David was missing, but I'd like to know why you didn't tell me the reason.
I wasn't sure.
You weren't sure. The valve for my brake cylinder was found in his room, wasn't it?
Yes, but it could have been... I don't know.
You know that after it was taken from his room, it was locked in a dresser. You know that, don't you?
Yes.
And I'm sure you also know that David got it out of that dresser and then disappeared.
But maybe it wasn't the part to your car. Maybe it was something else that looked like it.
It wasn't something else, Liz. It was this.
Where did you find it?
It came home with my son. There's no question about it. He tried to kill me.
But how? How could he have done it?
Very simply. All he needed was a wrench.
Harry, try to get a hold of Bill Malloy for me. Tell him I'd like to... He is. We'll send him right in.
Jonas, I'm sorry to bother you,
Bother me? You just saved the town of Collinsport a phone call. I just was going to have my deputy get in touch with you. Come on, sit down.
Oh, what do you want to see me about?
Well, Bill, I've got a problem. I thought maybe you could help me with it. Bill, I need information. Information about the Collins family. Roger, his sister Elizabeth, all of them.
Why ask me?
Well, I guess maybe because you manage their fishing fleet and cannery. And you're probably closer to them than anyone else in town. Reason enough?
Nope.
Bill, you're a hard man. But I've got a tough job here. A lot tougher than I thought.
Well, maybe I can make it easier.
That's all that I want.
But without prying into that family. Now, Jonas, we all know who tampered with the brakes on Roger's car.
Burke, you mean?
Hey, Burke Devlin. I know you saw him today, Jonas, and I'm sure he told you the only reason he came back to town was for a social visit.
Something like that.
Well, did he also tell you he had a private detective asking questions around town for 2 weeks before he arrived?
Is that what you came here to tell me?
I figured it might help you build a case against him.
Bill, I already know about the private detective.
Well, then go
Now,
out
wait
there
a second. Just wait. I know the facts against Burke in this case. Right now, I wish I could make them hold up. But as I said before, I've got problems.
Well, I don't see what
Bill.
problem you have.
I need your help. I really need your help, Bill. I have to do something I don't like to do.
Look, I was always fond of Burke myself.
Just
but
forget
this is
about
something
Burke.
much more-
Forget about Burke for a minute. Just try to answer my questions.
About the family?
About one member of that family. Just one. A 9-year-old boy named David.
Had Matthew left yet?
No, I stopped him in time.
Did you tell him the truth about David?
No, but he'll learn soon enough.
Roger, who else knows about this?
What difference does it make?
I want to know.
Yes, I'm not concerned with who knows about it. What keeps going through my mind is the 9 years I've spent living with that boy. Well, they're over now.
He's still your son.
He's a monster, Liz. He's been nothing but trouble to me since the day he was born. David and his mother. My loving wife and my adoring son. Laura and David. Love and respect. Liz, it was hell.
But he's still your son.
Is he? Are you sure of that, Liz? I'm not.
Roger.
I married Laura right after Burke's trial, didn't I? She was his girl, wasn't she? And David was born almost 8 months after our marriage.
That's ridiculous, Roger, and you know it.
Maybe not, and maybe. And I know that all the years I spent looking at that boy, I kept seeing Burke. And I hated him, Liz. I won't deny it, I hated him.
He's your son, I'm sure of it.
Why? Because he's deceitful, vicious, unpredictable, because he tried to kill his own father?
Perhaps he didn't realize what would happen.
Oh, come on, Liz. Don't try to protect the boy. I've known him. You haven't. He's been here 2 months. I've been with him for 9 years. And do you know what they add up to, those 9 years? This.
What did he say?
Well, he's just a kid, Jonas. You realize that, don't you?
I realize it. What did he say?
Well, he must have just had a humdinger of a fight with his father. And I heard him say, I hope he dies. Now, look, Jonas, all kids go through that kind of an emotional
I'm not
upset.
interested in all kids, Bill. Just one. Did they have these fights often?
What are you getting at?
Bill, do you think David's the kind of boy that would really hate his father? I don't mean kid stuff. I mean hate. The real thing.
Well, I don't think he likes it.
Before the accident, did they have any particular argument between them?
I think you'd better tell me what you're after.
Was there an argument? Could be important, Bill.
Well, Roger said something about sending him away to boarding school, I guess. And David was pretty upset about that.
How upset is pretty upset?
Jonas, you're out of your mind.
I hope so, Bill. I sincerely hope so.
Look, David's unpredictable, sure, a little wild maybe, but he wouldn't fight her. Jonas, I can't even say it.
I haven't said it yet, Bill. But I'm thinking it.
Why?
This wrench. The one that removed the valve on Roger's car, when I took it back to the house from the garage, I had it wrapped in a handkerchief. I wanted to get a clear set of prints. I put it down. David was there.
And?
He knocked it off the table. Accidentally, he said. But before I could stop him, he picked it up.
So, David's fingerprints are on the wrench? What does that mean?
We have 2 sets of fingerprints. David's, Burke's.
You saw David handle the wrench.
That's right. And Burke already admitted that he handled it.
I know. He said he found it on the seat of the car.
Well, I think he did. Listen, Bill. I've been going over this thing in my mind. I'm just about ready to turn in my badge. I never thought Burke fooled with those brakes. Now, he's too smart to have gone through with it. And having been seen standing there with a wrench in his hand.
But the car did crash.
Exactly. So I believe Burke was telling the truth. And that he did find the wrench in the seat of the car. That it was someone else who used it and put it there. So I came back here and took another look at these prints. Here, take a look at this one. The smaller one's David's. The larger one is Burke's.
Well, what does that prove?
Well, look at him. Burke's is almost covering David's, which means that David handled the wrench twice. Once when it went to the floor and he picked it up, and once before Burke got there.
Well, I follow you, sure. Burke's fingerprint is on top of David's.
Well, that's the picture.
Well, it doesn't prove anything. I mean, one fingerprint doesn't prove David tampered with the brakes and then left the wrench in the car seat.
No. But it raises a suspicion, wouldn't you say?
What do you intend to do about it?
I don't know what to do about it, Bill. I really don't.
So?
He wouldn't talk to me. He just lay on his bed staring at the ceiling. It was just as if I weren't in the room at all.
There isn't much for him to say.
I begged with him, pleaded with him to tell me it wasn't true, that he hadn't done it.
Yes, I think it's gone past that
Oh,
point.
but I feel so helpless. I don't know what to do.
Well, I do. It's time we face reality, Liz. David isn't a normal child for whatever reason, and he needs special help.
But he's so frightened.
But he should be. Liz, there are places, schools equipped to help problems like him.
No, Roger. I don't want to think about that.
But you've got to.
But this is his home. I don't want to send him away.
Do you know that if he was older, he would be in prison for what he tried to do?
But he's not older.
Do you know what would happen if I told the sheriff the truth? The juvenile authorities would insist on a hearing.
You're wrong, Roger. I'm sure you're wrong.
Liz, I'm telling you what I know.
I don't care what you're telling me. There's no reason for the sheriff or anyone else to know about this.
I believe you actually want him to stay here.
I know he's done a terrible thing. I'm not denying it. But he is part of our family.
He tried to kill me, Liz. Kill me. You want me to let him go on living here so he can try it again?
Perhaps he didn't know what would happen.
No, don't start that again, please. What happens next? A loose rock, some rat poison in my coffee. I've tried to be as forgiving as the next person, but...
Have you, Roger?
I told you...
Have you really?
I have tried to cope with that boy for 9 years. 9 years of torment.
And what do you think those years were like for him? Surrounded by hatred from the moment he was born. A hate he didn't know how to deal with or even understand.
Is that supposed to excuse what he did?
I'm not looking for excuses. I want to help David, not turn him away. You say this adds up to 9 years. Well, I'm telling you it adds up to more than 9 years. To a boy lying on his bed, trembling with fear, afraid of everything and everyone.
I'm supposed to be blamed for that, I guess.
I've seen you with him, Roger. I've seen the hatred pour out of you, smothering him, driving him deeper and deeper into his own fears until he had nowhere to turn.
And that excuses him?
Nothing excuses him. Let me make that clear. Nothing. But he's been forced to live his lifetime with your guilt.
Guilt? Maybe you better tell me what you mean, Liz.
No, it doesn't matter.
Perhaps it does, Liz.
I had no right to say that. I'm sorry.
I have no guilt, Liz.
Roger, Our family stands together. We always have and we always will. I think I've proved that to you in the past. I want to do as much for your son.
But David may not be.
Don't tell me he's not your son, because I won't accept that. He belongs to them, just as we do. Jeremiah, Isaac, Benjamin, all of them. And he's the youngest and the last. And he needs our help. And we're going to give it to him. Here.
What happens when other people find out?
No one will find out. I'll see to that.
No, Liz, it's insane. I won't let you do it.
I'm afraid you have no choice, Roger. I've made up my mind. David is going to stay here.
What do you expect me to do?
I expect you to remember that he's not a criminal. I expect you to leave him alone and allow Miss Winters and me to give him the happiness and attention that he deserves.
Well, Mrs. Stoddard, is your brother home?
Jonas wants to speak to you, Roger.
Want to see you, Mr. Collins, about something important. I think you'd be interested in this, too, Mrs. Stoddard.
Well put, Sheriff. My sister is interested in all that concerns me. All that concerns our sacred family.
What is it, Jonas?
Liz, please. I think Mr. Carter should know what a strong-knit group we have up here on this hill. My sister is a great believer in family tradition. The strong should protect the weak, the healthy should protect the sick, no matter what the consequences may be.
Roger, I'm sure Jonas didn't come up here to listen to a lecture on family loyalty.
As a matter of fact, Mrs. Stoddard, family loyalty does have a little bit about what I'm going to say.
Oh?
I want you to know this isn't easy for me. I could be wrong, but I've been giving it a lot of thought. Well, I wasn't even going to come up here, but I thought I should come and discuss it with you. With both of you, that is.
Is it about the accident?
Yes.
Don't tell me you finally arrested Burke Devlin. Talk about irony, Liz.
Roger, please. Go on, Jonas.
No, I haven't arrested Burke. I guess you know that I never felt that Burke was really responsible for your brother's accident.
And how right you were.
Roger.
Why not give the man credit? It was you and I, Liz. We always blame Burke for tampering with my brakes. And think of the injustice that it was. At least Mr. Carter had the instinct and the perception.
Roger, that's quite enough.
Oh, I'm sorry, Liz. I didn't mean to make another speech. 1,000 apologies, Mr. Carter.
Well, it's about the wrench. I guess you remember Burke said he found it in the seat of your car.
I remember.
Mrs. Stoddard, I want you to know I could be wrong. I've made mistakes before, lots of times.
Is it about David? Tell me, Mr. Carter. Is it about my son?
Yes. There were prints on the wrench.
Jonas, there's no reason to go on with this.
I wish there weren't, Mrs.
What
Stoddard.
I mean is we've learned we were mistaken. Not only about Burke, but about the reason for the accident.
I don't understand.
Well, you see, no one did tamper with the brakes. The valve fell off by itself.
Liz!
I'm sorry I couldn't call you, but I just found out about it.
Liz, what are you trying to do?
Roger, will you please let me explain? Our caretaker just told me. He was afraid to mention it because of the accident. But it seems that the valve had been loose several times in the past and should have been replaced.
You mean the valve fell off by itself?
Yes. Show it to him, Roger. I said show it to him.
Where did you find this?
By the side of the road. Exactly where it fell.
I see. What you mean is you want me to drop the case.
Well, there are no criminals involved. Why continue?
Well, I always did like easy solutions.
Then there'll be no further investigation.
Why should there be when there's no one to investigate? Well, I better be getting home. I promised my wife I'd take her to a movie.
I'll see you to the door, Jonas. thank you for your efforts.
Just doing a day's work, Mrs. Stoddard. Well, Mr. Collins, give your son my regards, will you?
I had no choice, Ron.
We all have a choice, Liz. It's just what we do with it.
You know what he was going to say.
Yes?
Well, then I had to lie to him, don't you see? I had to protect David.
You protected a monster, Liz. But don't ever forget that. Because there'll come a day, perhaps not tomorrow, but it will come. And you will regret it.
What can one American Jeep Patrol do against Rommel's mighty Africa Corps? Watch for Rat Patrol, Monday nights in color starting in September, here on ABC. Dark Shadows is a Dan Curtis production.